It's been close to 16 hours ever since we saw the Maxwell miracle in Mumbai. This was truly a knock for the ages. Everybody has just gone gaga over how Glenn Maxwell has just redefined the history books with his epic knock. There are parallels drawn to Kapil Dev's 175 in 1983, but unfortunately that knock you can never see it because it was never televised. Here we have had the privilege of digital, we have had the privilege of TV to see what kind of an impact Glenn Maxwell really made. There are so many funny reels going around. Glenn Maxwell rising from the dead like the Undertaker, and there is WWE commentary running side by side as well. You saw Ian Smith just go about saying what a staggering knock this was. Ricky Ponting himself admitted he's never seen this, despite playing cricket for over 20-30 years and commentating upon it for the last decade or so. So, in this video, you all will be knowing the obvious statistics that yes, Glenn Maxwell is the only individual to have gotten a double century batting at number 3 or below. But there is a stat going around that Glenn Maxwell is the first Australian to score a double century in ODIs. That is actually not correct, because Maxwell 201, everybody knows. But do you know Belinda Clark's 229? Remember, Australia, double centurion, Mumbai, World Cup, it actually happened 26 years ago. In the 1997 World Cup, in the Women's World Cup, Belinda Clark had hit a 229 against Denmark. But the only difference is Maxwell's knock came at the Wankhede. Belinda Clark's knock came at the Brabant. Now remember, Belinda Clark became the first ever batter in cricket history to score an ODI double century. This was 13 years before even Sachin Tendulkar got to the first 200, the first male cricketer to get to a 200. So Australia, double centuries, World Cup, Mumbai, this is the connection. Glenn Maxwell actually became only the second Australian player in history to get a double century in an ODI. Belinda Clark was the first individual, 229 against Denmark in 1997. Now, 26 years later, in a World Cup, this is the Men's World Cup, we have seen Glenn Maxwell hit 201. Prior to that, 185 was Shane Watson's highest score. Then it was followed by Matthew Hayden. Then you got David Warner, Mark Waugh. All these individuals have scored great centuries. But Glenn Maxwell is the first male Australian cricketer to hit a double century. Belinda Clark was the first Australian, if you look at it. So, in this way, Mumbai has served up in a World Cup 2 Australian double centurions, and both after a gap of 26 years. So Belinda Clark, Glenn Maxwell, these two individuals simply have redefined Australianism in a way no one else could ever have. So, first batter in history to score 200 in a successful run chase. Yes, he's the only batter to score 200 in a successful run chase. Prior to that, no one else had ever done it. You look at what happened against New Zealand. You look at Fakhar Zaman, came so close, but unfortunately he could not get it, that 200. He hit 193 against South Africa though. So that's why a tremendous achievement indeed what he has done. Maxwell is the first individual to score a 200. And it gets even better because every double hundred that you have seen from the opening position at max to number 3, every double century has come at the top order. Glenn Maxwell came much lower than that. And to have hit a double century, that is truly a remarkable feat indeed. It is a tribute to what has happened, because if you look at what has happened in Mumbai, scoring when he is coming at number 5 or number 6, scoring a double century takes something extraordinary. And that is why Glenn Maxwell, indeed one of the greatest ever ODI knocks that you can ever think about. But did you know, when he shared that partnership of 202 with Pat Cummins for the 8th wicket, it is the only double century stand in ODIs at the tail. The lower order means number 7 to number 11. This is the only 200-run stand that we have ever had in history. So, if you look at what has happened in Mumbai, Pat Cummins only made 12, but Glenn Maxwell was the individual who ensured that Australia got over the line. 292, the highest successful chase. It was the highest ever successful chase by Australia in World Cups. But 202 is the only double century stand for partnerships below number 7. And because of that, it beat the previous highest of 2015 that was set by Jos Buttler and Adil Rashid against New Zealand. So, 202, from 177 to 202, the highest tail partnership ever in ODI history. Out of 202, just 12 runs from Pat Cummins. What was the percentage? 5.9. It remains the lowest contribution in history by a batter in a partnership. 202, out of which Pat Cummins scored just 12. Glenn Maxwell scored about 179 of them. 11 were extras. Cummins' contribution was just 5.9. And Maxwell's contribution was close to 88.6%, which suggests that Cummins was in such total control that it was simply staggering, to say the least. So, only 5.9%, but look how important that 5.9% became. And that is why Glenn Maxwell and Pat Cummins' partnership of 202, not many contribute Pat Cummins', not many acknowledge it, but that was truly a spectacular knock indeed. One for the ages, if you may look at it. So, if you say that yesterday we had witnessed one of the greatest ever ODI knocks in history, you may not be wrong. Because at the end, you've seen Glenn Maxwell pull off one of the greatest ever ODI chases. And we have been privileged to see that. The stats are remarkable, and it will take something extraordinary to even better this. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on Sports Today. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live. And don't forget, we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you.